Welcome back. My name is Steve.
My name is Alex.
And I'm Steven. This is Streaming Things, streaming The Last of Us Season 2. Thank you all so much for listening. You might recognize that Kit and Andy are not here. Andy got married yesterday, and they're in Curacao getting married. They're out of the country, so they are unavailable to record this episode of Last of Us with me. So I went and found myself an amazing co-host and our good friend of the pod, Alex.
Deep off the bench, you guys went for this one. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you.
Someone who's only listened to our Last of Us coverage, they might not be familiar with our good friend Alex, but Alex has come on several times in the past to we've done drafts together. We reviewed movies together. We've talked about the importance of physical media together.
We have indeed. We've talked about Last of Us together. We did the season 1 preview.
That's right, we did.
I don't know, season 1, episode 0, I guess. Is how you could classify that. But no.
Remind everybody what your relationship is with The Last of Us. Did you play the games? Have you only been watching the show? What's that like?
So I played the games. It took me like 4 tries to get into the first game. It really did. It took like 10 years. So Animal Crossing came out the same day as the first game. Like, what the hell did you expect me to do? Like, it's like when the people had to choose between seeing Dark Knight and Mamma Mia. But like, it's so I would like start it, and I'm kind of like I love Uncharted, and this isn't scratching that same itch because I know it's different. I'm not a big survival horror guy. I finally buckled down ahead of Last of Us Part 2. Finally finished, got out of Pittsburgh after 10 years, and then mowed my way through the rest of the game, and really liked it. I think on the preview show, which I believe is still streamable on all sorts of podcast platforms if you want to keep it locked on Streaming Things.
Nice plugging.
Yay! I'm always good for the cheap pop, but like I was like I'm gonna buckle down and I'm gonna play this, and I think I said on the preview episode that I think it's a 10 out of 10 story and a 6 out of 10 game, and I stick by that. I think they're great stories, but that's my controversial opinion. But
love the hot takes.
Man, opinions are like buttholes. Everybody's got one. Some of them are tasty, but like So Last of Us Part 2, right, is the last AAA narrative game that I have played. I played it when it came out. It was one of those that finally made me like, I was on the cusp of falling out of love of like playing really meaty, like really like chewy, meaty games, right? Really dense narrative games. Where I was kind of like, oh, this is too long. Like, oh my God, this has like 5 endings, all
Give
this
me
stuff.
a Rocket League.
It kind of like at this point now, like at this point in my life, like 2 kids and everything like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Just give me 30 minutes to play as 5 men putting a ball in a hoop, or like 2 wrestlers just like fighting over a championship on a ladder. Like, just, I don't want a narrative. Let me craft it. Like, I don't want to press square and then tap square repeatedly to perform the action. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. And that, so like, I love the Last of Us world. I love the story. I love post-apocalyptic stuff. I love, that sort of like Cormac McCarthy, the roadness to it all.
Yeah.
But like as a game, I could take it or leave it. But I think as a story, I think this franchise, this property in particular, is such a great piece of art and expression through what video games can be and what they can deliver for people. And I think also is a really great example of like why adaptations are important, because I do think this should be more accessible beyond like a 25-hour game, But so transitioned that into the series. I got to episode 3, the Nick Offerman one. I watched that when it aired, and I was like, oh, literally, this is like top 10, one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I do not think the rest of the show is going to equal this. So I'm just going to stop watching for a while. Because I was like, nothing is going to like
retire on top.
God, yeah. Like, just like, you know what? No, like, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do better than that? You're not. So I'm going to wait until I come down from this. And then I'm going to pick up the rest of it and be like, cool, like, this is great. And I did. I don't know when they announced season 2's release date, and I was like, that's soon. So that's when I picked it back up. And then now I'm current and got caught up on the show. Loved the first season. Thought it was a really great adaptation. Really liked the adjustments, the changes they made. So far, so good. going on season 2, digging it. But yeah, that's my background on the whole thing.
Well, thanks for joining us, but let's get into the episode. Listener, we are going to dive into our overall thoughts on Season 2, Episode 4 of The Last of Us, titled Day 1. After we go over the overall thoughts, we'll do a scene-by-scene recap of the entire episode. Then we'll transition into our top 3 favorite moments of the episode, or our Firefly moments. And then we're going to go into our bullets and pills, baby, where we will sort of point out any Easter eggs for the video games or any sort of other fun little pieces of information we plucked out of the episode. And then we'll finish everything off with our Outbreak performance, our favorite performance of the episode. But right before we get into that, I do have some business I got to speak to at the very top of the show. Great news, everybody. Streaming Things is having another live show this year. It's going to be November 7th at the Woodward Theater in Cincinnati, Ohio. Tickets are not on sale yet, but I did want to briefly tell everybody that date so you can mark it on your calendars. I'll let you know when tickets go on sale. It should be in the next month or so. We also have brand new The Last of Us themed merch. If you're a huge fan of Streaming Things Cinematic Universe character Sniper Tone, he makes an appearance on this t-shirt. It's really cool. It looks like if someone took a old style fight poster and put it through the machine of like Nickelodeon, and that's what the shirt ends up looking at. I'll put if you're watching the video, here it is. If you're listening to us on audio, there's a link to our merch store in the show notes. Go check it out. It's really cool. We're also covering Andor Season 2 on the main feed. Those episodes come out every Wednesday, and I'm joined by our friend Phil. But Alex, I want to know, what are your overall thoughts on Day 1?
Steve, I'll be happy to tell you I loved this episode.
Oh, really?
I did. I loved this episode. If you're gonna sit me down at the buffet of The Last of Us, right? And you're laying out all of the food that I can dine finely upon, I am going to fill my plate up mostly with sides. And that
with
is
sides. Okay. I respect that.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Like one entree, but like as someone who never feels like there's enough potatoes, I think that this
more potatoes.
This episode was a great amount of potatoes. I think that this is one of, if not the strongest of the season. I would put it up there, not as one of the best of the series, like, I talked about earlier, but like I think it's up there. I think this is a pivotal episode. I think it touched on a lot of story moments. I think it set up stuff beautifully because this whole world is just kind of this like Jenga tower, and you're just kind of like, I hope this isn't the one that does it. And, you're setting this precipitous tower up and you're getting ready to start, right? As soon as it was like day 1, as soon as like that was the episode title, I'm like, oh, okay. Like the way I think everything's going to like be told from here on out is going to like really fall into place. I think it set the stakes up. I think it addressed some people's character concerns, not mine in particular, because I am a man of patience. But I think I think when it's said and done, I know that this wasn't an episode of like major visual moments, right? This wasn't like episode 2. This wasn't like some sort of like significant time where you're like, oh crap, I'm going to remember this episode forever. But I think when it comes back down and we're not doing the week to week model and someone's going to sit there and do 1 through 9, 1 through 10, whatever it is, I think 4 is going to be the one people come back around on and be like, oh, this was actually really good. Like this was a really important episode. And I think this is the one that really, I think, is going to set the tone and really, I think, hammered home the theme of the overall story and the game too, of like cyclical revenge.
So I 100% agree with you. I think this episode is really, really amazing. I mean, from the jump, this episode really just is firing on all cylinders. Like you get an amazing opening scene, and then the next scene is just as amazing, and then the next one, and then the next one. It just keeps building and building and building upon itself. We get the introduction of Jeffrey Wright's Isaac, which I love Jeffrey Wright, and he's actually he joins Merle Dandridge as one of only 2 characters to reprise their roles from the game in the show. And so seeing him back, as it were, as Isaac is really welcome. And he's just such a force, and that opening scene really contextualizes that character as someone.
You can kind of tell, I'm sure we'll get into the scene by scene thing, but sorry, like you could tell, like you could spot him almost, like when they're in the truck, like, cause I was like watching it, I'm like, that person's been sitting there awful quiet for a while. You can kind of just tell, like, all right. There's just that aura about Jeffrey Wright. I feel like even like shield mask, everything. You're just like, oh, like Anyway, sorry, go ahead. I love that.
No, he's so good. And that scene really starts off the episode strong. And then later on, we get like a really great, like Tarantino-esque torture dialogue heavy scene that just builds and builds the tension.
Yes.
I mean, you said this wasn't like necessarily a huge visual success of an episode, comparing it to episode 2. And I think that's true. It doesn't reach the visual heights of like episode 2 did. But I mean, I got to say that chase in the subway, I think that might be my favorite action scene of this entire series. It was that good. It was so full of suspense. I really felt the claustrophobia of the scene, and it was just fantastic. I really did appreciate it. And the only criticism I have for the show, or for this episode specifically, I'm sorry, is even though the first 3/4 of the episode is just building and building and building and building on each other, the last fourth of the episode, to me at least, have a couple moments that I'm just kind of like, okay, there's a little bit of whiplash, specifically with Dina and Ellie's relationship. I feel like this show in this season is going a little bit start and stop with them. Whereas last episode, they're like, okay, pump the brakes on their relationship. This episode, they're going to have a kid and get married now. It's just really kind of whiplashy, and I'm sure it'll even out by the end of the series. But like in the moment, I was just kind of like, okay, what are we doing? I'm here for it either way. Just pick a lane.
Yeah.
But that's my only real criticism. And it's not even that big of one. It's just a nitpick, if anything, just because as someone who's played the game, and I hold both games in a very special place in my heart. I used to tell people I think they should teach these stories in schools because they're just that good.
You're not wrong.
And I have a really special place in my heart for Last of Us Part 2. I really liked Part 2's story. And so I'm always I try to turn it off when we do these reviews of the show. I try to turn off it was this in the game, it's that in the show. But it's impossible to do, right? But I try to when I do my thoughts and my recaps of the TV show, I try to say what's working for the show and what's not.
Sure.
But that comparison's always in my mind. This episode had several scenes where I was fully like, even in the comparison part of my mind, I'm like, this show's doing this better than the game did.
Okay.
Like unequivocally. Cause like up to this point, there have been scenes where I'm like, oh, I liked how the game did this a little bit better, but the show's doing this aspect of that scene better, and vice versa. This is the one I'm like, this scene's better in the show than it is in the game.
Okay.
And that I think is a testament to how good this episode is. And it coming from someone who holds the games in such high regard.
Absolutely.
For me to say that about this episode of TV really shows how much of a win this episode is overall. But with that, Alex, do you want to get into the recap of day 1?
Let's do it.
But before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from some of our sponsors.
Why would you tease me like that?
Well, I like teasing.
My God.
I got to edge you into sponsors. And we're back. We're about to get into the recap for Last of Us Season 2, Episode 4, Day 1, an episode that HBO Max describes thusly. In 2018, Seattle FEDRA confronts an unexpected foe. 10 years later, Ellie and Dina find themselves in the middle of a bloody battle between the zealous Seraphites and a ruthless militia. What do you think of that synopsis? It's rare to get a time jump in a synopsis.
I think it's fair. Yeah, I mean, right. It's true. But, I think it sets the stage for at least what to expect, right? As opposed to just like thrusting a new character onto you and just be like, here he is. It gives you like a little bit of like, at least how he got there. I don't know how you write that. That's props to them for pulling it off.
Well, we open up, it's 2018, the Seattle quarantine zone. There are some soldiers. They're in an armored troop carrier, and fucking Josh Peck is there.
I have Josh Peck and Terabang like as a note. I'm just like, it took me a minute. It took me a minute to recognize because
I'll be honest, the whole scene played out. This is just how bad I am at recognizing people. The whole scene's playing, and I'm just like, I know who that is. That is. And then I watched it a second time. I know who that is. And then after I watched the episode a second time, I finally, who is that man? Like, oh, fuck, it's Josh Peck.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, he's telling this story about how FEDRA has sort of taken over the quarantines, or they control the quarantine zone in Seattle, and they're, a fascistic order. He's telling the story about how they were arresting these people who were disseminating flyers. These were religious flyers, which was a nice little touch because it shows that the Seraphites have always been there. But this other guy, I assume some dumb commanding officer named Greenberg, shows up, doesn't know what disseminating means, and it's like, thinks the people they're arresting were jerking off on the streets. And he calls the people who live in Seattle voters. And one of the newer recruits is like, well, why do you call them voters? And this is when we see Jeffrey Wright's Isaac pipe in. It's because we took their rights away and someone said it to them to make fun of them for it.
One of the things I loved was the way I wrote, like, just this Gilligan ass motherfucker asked the question of like, why do they call them voters? Because like he's so like smiley, like happy to be a part of the ride. You know, he's just like, yeah. Why'd you call him that? And then you get like this, like, oh, because like it was done to mock them, and he's just like, oh. And
well, that doesn't seem very nice,
right? What I love about it though is like you look at like you kind of like rough idea. It's 2018. I forget when the outbreak started. Someone can throw their
in the show. It's 2003. Yeah.
So then you factor in like the age of the FEDRA soldiers. And then you subtract kind of like how many years that's been going on from 2018. And you start kind of being like, oh, how old were they when this started? And you can kind of like, I don't know. For me, it's that unspoken part of the series where like, how fast did these people turn? How fast did these people maybe go from kids to this shit that Josh Peck's talking about and like celebrating it and like laughing about it and all this stuff. You know, I think that's one of the coolest things I think that the series does is being able, without like talking about it, being able to like, if you start like kind of doing the math, you're like, oh wow, these people's lives were like ruined. And I think that was something that, you know, this episode touches on, and we'll, I think again a little later, but like, yeah, you don't really think about it. And then you think about like, I was just thinking about like, man, those FEDRA soldiers were like kids, like 10 years ago, you know, like I don't know. That's the kind of stuff about like I really like about this.
Yeah, they do some really excellent world building. So eventually the convoy sort of, it gets trapped by a school bus that's blocking the road. And then they see a bunch of people just walking up behind them. And Isaac decides that he's going to go talk to them. He said that apparently, I guess there was a protest in Seattle and some FEDRA just shot a bunch of protesters and made it violent. So Isaac's like, hey, I'm going to talk to them so it doesn't blow up anymore. You guys stay in here, listen to your commanding officer. And Josh Peck is like, I'm sorry, Sarge. I didn't mean anything by it. And he's like, of course you didn't. You're all Greenbergs. You're thoughtless. Love him. But he steps out and Isaac begins talking to...
He pulls Gilligan with him.
Yes. I like how you're calling him Gilligan.
I was that or Gomer Pyle. It's one of the two.
But he meets this woman who I take from this scene that she's like the leader of this movement named Hanrahan.
Yeah.
And the way Isaac just turns back around and casually takes off a couple grenades, unplugs them, chucks them into the van and closes the door and blows up his own men.
Josh Peck looks at the grenade and she's like, it's spherical.
That's a deep cut. I like it.
You know, like two people got it. It's fine. It's me and you.
That's for the real ones. The real ones know.
But yeah, that was just so cold and callous, right?
Oh,
like just like that dude knew what he was doing, like when he got on the truck, let alone when he got off of it. I just, like great setup, everything, the 4 or 5 lines I think Jeffrey Wright has in that whole setup, and just the actions, like everything about it's so cold, callous. It just sets everything up, I think, for like what we're going to get from Isaac down the road. Like even like later, you're just like, oh, like it's not like he's like gone further off the deep end, you know, it's just like, oh no, like he's off, he's gone. And like, yeah, I loved it. Great setup for him.
Yeah. And I also love the fact that no matter what we see of the WLF in the modern day, which seems to be this alternative fascistic order sort of running Seattle and killing a bunch of people indiscriminately, it began from a place of someone who's like, we're giving rights back to the people. Like how so many revolutionaries start. They like, let's give power to the people. And then when they get in power, they just become despots of their own.
It's the whole Caesarian thing, you know, it's the whole like, the whole appointing a Caesar and
and the scene ends with him looking at Gilligan, who is just gobsmacked. He has no idea what to do. And he's like, now make your choice.
He's like, I'm going to get on that boat for that 3-hour tour.
Is the professor coming? But we cut to 11 years into the future. We're at a pharmacy. Dina and Ellie are rummaging for supplies. And there's a couple funny back and forth moments between the two. Like, ooh, I found milk. Ooh, smell it just in case.
It's warm.
Dina finds some Movistar 7 combo pack. Great deal. good catch. And I love how she's like, hey, babe, you rocking a yeast infection? Not today, but give it time.
How much is in the HSA?
But then Dina sees something else. The audience doesn't see it, but it clearly catches her eye. It's a big moment. And she's like, I'm going to pee.
It's Eugene.
He was here the whole time. What do you think about the Eugene of it all? Because they've really made Eugene this like background figure that looms over everything in Jackson, which is kind of wild.
Like, yeah, no, I know you all had like highlighted that he's like, you know, kind of like this like omnipotent being that just like oversees, like he's like the watcher, you know, like he is the last of them, but like he is at the end of time as just Eugene like monitoring everything. I don't know. I think it's fine. Give somebody some like weight, some gravitas, someone we don't know. I think that's something that the show does really well. I think something that a TV show can do much better than a video game can is add that kind of like weight and loss to someone we never see, someone we never meet. Like if you're playing the game, you're kind of myopically, singularly focused on like the task at hand. You're like, I don't give a fuck about like this D-list dead guy, right? And whereas I think the game, am I wrong? And where the game can like pull it in. And we saw it with like Bill, and we saw it with, you know, I think we're going to see it like with season 2 and everything too, but like their ability to kind of like take these background, no name, one name, you know, first name only characters and maybe add some weight to them. Will it come back around? I don't know. There's a season and a half left of this game, more or less, to kind of like tackle. So like, who knows if that's set in the table or if that was something they started that they abandoned partway through. Like, I don't know. It was one of those where I'm like, okay, cool. Like if he never gets brought up again, we're going to forget about him by like episode 8. So
I am interested to see where it goes because they're clearly building to some reveal with what did Joel do to Eugene? And I'm in for the mystery. I want to know what it is. Anyway, so it's Seattle, day 1. Dina and Ellie are outside. Dina's like, let's go, babe, people to kill. But they end up walking on to Capitol Hill. This area of Seattle. There's a lot of pride flags and pride iconography there just because Capitol Hill is a pretty iconic LGBTQ plus area. And it's just so cool to see them walking around. And I could just hear neckbeards getting so angry at the scene. Like, they're showing the colorful flags. But I like the way they kind of did this where they inserted the flags, which because like Ellie's like I would say, you know, I can't quite speak to this as a straight white male, but in my vision, she's like a gay icon, right? Or she should be.
For a art or medium like video games that has so few. Yes. I would establish her like in that realm, absolutely.
And so seeing her look at all these rainbows, and because they grew up in a time that didn't have this iconography, the world stopped progressing in 2003. Imagine how people viewed gay characters in 2003.
Right.
And how important a flag like that was in 2003. And the fact that they don't know that history, they just are who they are. And I love how they're like, why are there all these rainbows? Maybe they're all optimists.
So much. Yeah. Like, I love it. And it goes back to what I was saying, like, you know, these people's lives, you don't know, like, I think when you're watching a show that's in like I said, you're watching a show in the present that takes place in like an alternate, not too distant future. It's hard to separate like the past from like your past from like the show. It's like a fictional past, you know. That's what I was going back to. Like, I don't always, when I watch Last of Us, think like, oh, I'm doing like the age math, you know. And like I said, like going back with like the people in the FEDRA truck and stuff like that. It's just one of those things that the show hits on so well without really like so overtly hitting on it, of just like, no, like these people's lives were wrecked and there's so much they don't know, like that they were robbed of, like just in knowledge, you know. And I think that's just, it's stuff you don't think about. I think when we think about the world ending, I think it's just one of those like small details you can kind of appreciate with this. I
thought this was a really nice, fun moment of levity before the episode kind of gets into the scariness, you know. But they come across a bunch of dead WLF guys. So much for Proud Rainbow Town. And I love how they have this setup where there's a tank. Ellie wants to see what's inside. She opens up the lid and then it just crashes, making this enormously huge noise.
Yeah.
And Dina is like immediately like guns out, like, is there a clicker nearby? And I think they wrote that in specifically for the next scene to make sense for why they're comfortable playing instruments.
Yeah.
We get a little window into Ellie's interest where she opens up the tank, sees there's 3 burnt skeletons in there, just like the Apollo 1, because she's a huge astronaut nerd. She knows her history. She brings up Grissom, White, and Chaffee. R.I.P. to those guys. And they have this nice line where, well, hey, at least they died for something. These guys are just assholes killed by other assholes. And it just shows like how, again, to your point, how different the apocalypse is. Like people could do something like that for the benefit of furthering mankind and society. And these people are just killing each other for some territory of land.
Yeah. And it goes to show like, and I mean, we saw it with the end of episode 3, but I think it's just this episode does such a good job of continuously building like how in over their heads they are. Yeah. But like they're not even drowning. You're in over your head. And like you don't even know. Like, and that's, so good.
Dina sees the KMAB 13 building. It was kind of like a tower. It's a radio news station. Someone has written a giant WLF sign on it. And so Dina points that out to Ellie, and Ellie's like, let's fucking go, girl. Let's get them.
That's bait.
Yeah, that's bait. Not falling for it. That's Dina, though. Dina realized it's bait. It's like, hey, there's a big sign. You're probably prepared. You probably want people to know you're in there. They're going to see us coming because they're up high. We should wait until it's dark and head out then. What do you think about the subtle changes that they're adding to Dina as a character?
I think it's fine. It goes back to like you have this opportunity to kind of build this side character. You get this opportunity because like, again, when you're playing as Ellie, you're playing as Ellie. Like she is an extension of you. Like the only thing that's bridging the two of you together is this controller. You're not playing as Dina. You're not playing as Jesse. You're not playing as Tommy. You're not playing as, Joel in the second game. So like it gives you that. So you kind of like almost instinctually, I feel like, don't care as much. They kind of just become like they're like narrative fodder in some way where like you can care about them, but like they're at risk. They're not safe. They're, they're like, but like they aren't who you're playing as. They aren't the representative and extension of you, the gamer. Whereas I think you can make these modifications, these subtle changes, tweaks, and stuff like that. And it gives you an opportunity in this version of the narrative to strengthen that character and to like really reinforce it. Cause like going back to the Bill one, cause I think this is the greatest example of it is if you had translated Bill directly to that episode of The Last of Us, of them trying to get out of Pennsylvania and everything, right? It would be almost like taking like codec directions from the Colonel and Metal Gear, because it would be too gamed, right? Because you just like, all right, Joel, click L3 to crouch, and then you're going to want to use the R2 to equip the grenade and aim with R. You're like, what the fuck? And like, because that's Bill's thing. He's a gamified, like he's not expositional. He's just, I'm going to direct you how to technically play this game. And I think that's what you get the opportunities to change. You get to de-game the narrative and strengthen the characters in turn. And I think, any modification is going to be, I'm sure met with like, ugh, at first, but subtle changes and strengths, like you're only reinforcing, you're making good characters stronger and giving them like the care and love and attention that they would deserve. And I think this form of presenting the story.
Yeah, I like what they're doing with Dina and Ellie's relationship in terms of how they approach this mission, because Ellie's going to brute force always keep them going. And Dina's the one that's going to help figure it out. They're like a really good pair.
Yeah.
Whereas in the game, I think it's much more like, here's Ellie. She's you, right? You're the gamer. So she's a great fighter. She's also like always thinking and figuring everything out because you're the gamer. So it's good that they do that because it gives Dina more agency. She's not just there to like talk to someone while you're walking through Seattle. She's there as a character who knows what she's doing. She's just as prepared. She's just as capable, but she also cares about Ellie. But at the same token, and this is a big change that I think is great, she cares about the revenge of Joel as well, because they establish how her and Joel have a relationship too. So I think they're doing great stuff with Dina.
Yeah, same.
But they shack up in a music store, which is really fun. I just love that there was enough tall grass for Shimmer. Shimmer's like, oh, hell yeah. You taught me to, you brought me to my favorite restaurant.
And I love that in the apocalypse, there's no law that says a horse can't be in a record store.
Ain't no rule that says no dog can play basketball.
Right? if Shimmer wants to get down to like They Might Be Giants Flood, it can.
Shimmer. Yeah, so they're going around the record shop. It's really, really sweet because music has such a strong meaning to Ellie. Specifically, we've seen that with all her music posters in her room. Obviously her connection with Joel and the guitar. So seeing this wonder of someone like, whoa, a place where they sell music, how cool.
Right.
That's got to be such a big deal. And to your point, they're so young, they didn't get to grow up in a place that people of their generation can really like create music and then disseminate it to an audience, right? That's very hard to do.
I like how you brought disseminate back into it.
I'm going to see how many times I can say disseminate this episode.
I like they're jerking the music off into the streets.
Get your splooge off my records, jizz boy.
It's jazz. It's jazz.
I'm listening to Cantina music.
Right. Exactly.
But I love how that has to be so important for these characters to be able to like interact with me, because the only music they can interact with is the music of Joel's era, right? And older. There's really no musical identity for them. And so it happens later when Ellie picks up the guitar, beautiful, pristine guitar. That I want to know what case that was. Was that a fucking Samsonite?
It's just like a safe. It's just like whatever they make fireproof safes out of. It's just like an apocalypse. It's like, yeah, it's a spore safe case. It's like, well, when am I going to need that? But this is going to be perfect, I guess.
So for the one time.
Hopefully my serial network doesn't take revenge. You know,
the music shop owner's like, well, we got that spore case. I don't know when we're ever going to offload that piece of shit.
Right.
But they did had the like, what do they call it? The little silicone gel packets inside.
Yeah, it had the silica gel. I think it was an extra pack of strings or two. Like, just a treasure chest right there.
Oh, perfect.
Man, right. Untouched.
But she picks up the guitar and she starts playing this cover of Take On Me by a-ha, which again is not a song of her generation, but her spin on it, how it's a little bit slower. This is just a beautiful scene. Like Dina comes up and watches her and Dina's getting weepy. I'm getting weepy. What did you think about this?
It was beautiful. I mean, like that's such the guitar. I feel like the guitar moment in the game is such a crucial moment that, you know, kind of like is this sort of like repeating area of the story, like that's sort of like beauty of it all, right? Like in the midst of, and I know we joked about the immaculate guitar, right? But goes back to like, it goes back to finding beauty in the destruction and these moments of, you know, sadness, this moments of revenge, this moment of like, I am going to find this person and I'm going to bleed them out no matter how long it's going to take. And I'm going to watch them die and the life lead from their eyes. But first, take on me, you know? And it's like, I loved it. It's so tender and it's so wholesome and it's so sweet. And I think it's those kinds of moments that you need when you're watching a show like this in current times like this too, is you need to be able to find and have that reminder to like find the beauty in like the dark and find the light in the dark, find the beauty in the sadness and stuff like that. And you know, the positivity of it all is so sweet and so great. I thought they nailed it. I thought that was just beautifully directed. I thought Isabella Merced knocked it out of a fucking park just with her face acting. Bella Ramsey is showing, not that, again, I don't think y'all had any doubt. I didn't have any doubt, but her ability, I think, to carry the show, I think was kind of like shown in there because it was just such a tender moment. Like Ellie is this like hardened, jaded, this is all she knows, you know, person who just lost like one of the few people that have genuinely loved her while trying to protect someone who's with her that also loves her. And like, so there's that beauty of it. I think it just nailed that. I think you have to have those kinds of moments in shows like this. Yeah.
This is one of those moments I think they like directly lifted from the game. It's almost one for one. Like it looks like a screenshot from the game almost. Like it just looks beautiful. They did such a great job of adapting it. And even the song Take On Me, I do like how because at this point in the game, if we're comparing it, at this point in the game, Dina and Ellie are already in a relationship. I believe it happens later in the game, this moment. But the placement here, I think, is great because in the show, Dina and Ellie haven't quite gotten together yet. And the lyrics of a-ha, like there's one lyric in specific in the song, it's no better to be safe than sorry. I think that really means something to Dina specifically in this episode. And I really like how they use that to further the characters of the show. I think this was a really tactical choice by the creators, and a very smart tactical choice. I thought it was beautiful.
You highlighting that lyric, I was thinking the same thing, where like it goes back to, was it the last week's episode where it was the whole like, like, how was the kiss scene? Like, oh, I'm not like, I think, yeah, it's her dipping her toes in the water, feeling it out, having, like, well, what is the inch? I know she's into me, but like, what's the gauge level? Like, what's the interest level? I know, like I said, like there was people online and stuff like that were kind of like, I don't know if they're going to do this right. I think, yeah, taking that extra week, taking that breath, that beat to bring it to this one and like have that tender moment where I think it's one of the few instances too, where like Ellie really lets her guard down. And you see that she is this like sweet, tender kid who probably, inarguably deserves better than the life that she was given and the time that she was given. And I think that's such an instrumental piece.
I see what you did there.
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. It was like I airballed a 3-pointer and you just caught it and dunked it. And you were just like, I guess it was a pass. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. From downtown.
Sports.
I was getting so emotional through the song, and then the song ends and I'm like, that was lovely. And then Ellie hits me with, or Dina's like, Joel taught you well. And Bella Ramsey gives this like, he did. And I'm like, my heart immediately got right back into that. No, my heartstrings. But now that we had this beautiful moment,
right,
let's go to another beautiful moment about cooking. We cut to Isaac again. He's an older Isaac. He's in some sort of like nice, pretty large kitchen, and he's talking to someone. We don't know who he's talking to, but
Steve, he's not talking. He starts monologuing.
He's monologuing for sure.
He is monologuing.
Yeah.
Like, no, that man is pure evil incarnate at this point. Like, that man is it doesn't matter if he's talking to someone off screen or if he's just hanging out in the kitchen talking about like, I never thought I'd be rich enough to get these pans. You're just like, oh, this guy's fucking gone. Like, he was gone in 2018, like I said, but he's gone. He's monologuing evilly, sinisterly about French pans. Sorry, Steve.
So
continue.
Good. No, I loved it. I really love this lead up to the turn, as it were, of this scene, because he's talking about, when I was younger, I had a really hard time talking to women. It made me nervous. You got to play to your strengths, so I cooked for them, and I would go to Williams-Sonoma. It's a cookware store. You wouldn't get it. Like,
Sur la table.
That one little line of like, you wouldn't get it. It's a story. Trust me, it's cool. And
you think it was pronounced sur la table, but it's sur la table.
But he's talking about these copper pans, these Mauvier saucepans, and he's like, I would stare at these pans, and I thought to myself, 30 years working, I would get a pension. One day I'll retire and get a pan with a lid. I was right.
One pan. I was going to be able to afford one pan. Mauvier saucepan with lid. Like, just that little break, I feel like also just sets you up to the person he was, right? Like, he loves cooking. It's a passion for him. It's not something he's monetizing, but like, it's something that he enjoys. It's his secret weapon, as it were. And I just love that he's like, 30 years of working, I'll be able to afford one of those pans.
Yeah.
With a lid. Just like, what the fuck were you doing, first off? But like, yeah, man, how much are those pans? But yeah, that was just
that
so
little
good.
delivery of with lid.
With lid.
Just like, I'm going to blow your mind. Like, it's coming with a lid too.
Yeah. And then in my head, I'm like, damn, with a lid. I'm just like, fuck.
Oh, no doubt. Pop off, King.
Doesn't heat as well. The copper is fast as cast iron, but that is one of the, just so good.
And then he has this one line. I love Jeffrey Wright so much. This one line delivery of strange benefits of the apocalypse.
Yes.
And how he just sort of stares listfully off a little bit, almost like, what is this life? And then thud. I love the sound design of the copper pot hitting the fire range.
Yeah. There's the heavy, thunderous, like, boom, the echoous, like, so good.
But like you said, copper is a pain in the ass. It heats fast, but doesn't retain heat like cast iron, which would make it the unideal choice for torture. But if you have Mauvier, you use Mauvier.
Steel handle, stays cold. Just a nice little touch.
Yeah, so he's torturing a guy. So the camera finally shows the other side of the room, and there's this beaten, naked, bloody Seraphite person just on the ground looking miserable. And as the dude who's reputation of the show can be summed up in the phrase, "Let me see that dick," I can unequivocally say this is the this is my Ian Malcolm moment. Like I always yelled it, but did I always want to see that dick?
You asked for it when you started this. So I was curious. I was curious because like, I don't know if it's a weird thing to remember. Right. So I wanted to ask you, and you may have addressed it on a past episode, but just lore wise, I guess, do you remember the first penis you saw in a visual non-pornographic medium? Because mine was Any Given Sunday. And I was just curious if it's...
You know, I don't think I can remember what my first penis was.
Man.
If I'm being totally honest, because like I'm just happy whenever I see one on screen.
Sure, so, it's rare.
It is
Any
rare.
Given Sunday, there's like a baker's dozen, man.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
Yeah.
Listener, if you're new and you don't know the shtick, it annoys me to no end that movies and TV show will show naked women for no reason. Like there could be no reason. There's a naked lady, but if there's a guy, usually if they're standing there naked, there'll be like a lamp hiding his junk, and it annoys the piss out of me because like, no, let's show me the dick. Let me see it.
My nipples get to run free on stuff like Cheaters. My nipples would run free, but they're going to censor the woman's nipples. Doesn't make sense. It's a double standard.
We're just trying to level the playing field here.
Right.
Let me see that tortured dick.
So like, for those that don't know the shtick, let me see that dick. You know, you have like a little jingle to go with it.
But Isaac is torturing this guy. He's heating up the pan, and then he forces them to hold out their hand, and he puts the pan on top of it, and it burns them. It's awful. But they have this sort of back and forth where the Scar, as he calls this person, or Seraphite is the real name. Scar is the derogatory.
We use it to mock him.
But he's saying like, did you know that some of you just think that the prophet was just a person? And this is when that guy says they're heretics. So the people we saw, presumably the people we saw last episode, the way they were talking about the prophet, how the prophet was just a normal woman who just told us truths, assumedly those are heretics to this guy's, mainstream religious cult.
His Orthodox cult.
Again, really good world building that they're doing here, very subtly and very cleverly. So Isaac wants to know where the Scars are going to attack next. And this guy doesn't want to answer. We get this shot of two guards outside. The one guy's like, what the fuck? Is he torturing someone in there?
Right.
And we hear a voice off screen. It's like, hey, Isaac knows what he's doing. Calm down. We later find out that dude is Gilligan.
Indeed.
Yeah, an older Gilligan. He made his choice. But the Seraphite guy is saying, she watches over me. She feels my soul. And Isaac's like, well, you put an arrow in a little boy's head. Well, you kill our kids. Well, we only do that because you trained your kids to shoot at us. Well, you broke the truce. No, you broke the truce. I'm not doing this chicken and the egg bullshit with you, man.
Right.
What a great back. What did you think about the interrogation scene overall? Because I think it's just like an excellent case of world building, tension building, and character development for Isaac specifically.
So yeah, I mean this runs kind of hand in hand with a point I was going to make a little later, but then my notes are like side by side on each other on this. So I'm gonna lump them. I loved it because the one, and I talked about it earlier, it goes even further into showing how in over their heads, Ellie and Dina are about to be, like unknowingly are at this point. We're at like the little did they know phase. I think it goes to show how psychotic these people they are about to run up against are. I think that conversation, that back and forth between Isaac and the Seraphite is exactly just the entire theme of the show encapsulated. Is this mutually assured destruction, this sort of like, just revenge begets revenge begets revenge begets revenge. And the cyclical nature of it all. I think the other thing it goes for is if you're juxtaposing the games, right? The first game, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's like Ellie, Joel, Fireflies, infected / clickers. I think that's pretty much, you don't run into
terms of enemy types.
Yeah. Am I missing anything in terms of
there's
the stuff you run into?
There's the FEDRA people in Philadelphia. They're the cannibals in whatever part of the country that is.
And I think, you're still seeing like these small sects, right? You're just like, I think in the scope of that, it makes sense when you're getting into the game, into this one, into this story, into the show, you're seeing like the Fireflies aren't like the thing they were, but there's the Washington Liberation Front, there's the Seraphites, there's the subset of Seraphites, the heretics, the heretics. And you're getting into this thing where you're just like, oh, you see the size of the WLF too at some point too. At the end of the third episode, you get that rough idea of like, oh, there's a lot. Like The Last of Us there's a lot. There's a good amount, like, and there's these sects and subsects and cliques and groups and stuff like that. And I think it goes to show like, yes, this is a endemic, apocalyptic, world-ending event, but like people are still like banding together and they're still getting strength in numbers, and there's still that kind of understanding, and it's showing that how petty I think and small this singular journey is for our leads, and the fact that they're just like, this person killed my paternal influence, and now I'm gonna get in the middle of a turf war. And I think like it's so great at making everything seem so much bigger. Like it's like, no, there is just some shit that where the world is cruel and stuff's bigger than you. And I think that this is the start of that.
Yeah.
And it's just so perfectly in those like 15 seconds of like, you did this, well, you did this, you did this, you're just like, okay, cool, I got it. That's the whole enchilada right fucking there.
And the way that this scene ends with the Isaac yells at the Seraphite, like, I'm going to burn every part of you until you tell me what I want to know. And dude's already like, do it, burn me.
Right.
And in that moment, Isaac just decides to shoot him because Isaac is cruel, but he's also pragmatic. And in that moment, he realizes like, oh, I'm just going to be wasting my time if I just burn this guy. He's all in. So I might as well just put him out of his misery and move on to the next way I can make my goals a reality. Just a very small moment that I think is very crucial to that guy's character. But Dina and Ellie are waiting to break in. It's nighttime now. They're thinking about breaking into the TV station. There's no security on patrol. Dina spots a broken window that they could probably get in through, but there's already like blood on it. And so they assume, oh, someone shimmied up there and already broke in before us. Let's do that. And there's this one moment where Dina asks Ellie, hey, what happens if we run into wolves that weren't in Jackson? And there's this sort of moment where they kind of look at each other knowingly. And Dina's like, yeah, I agree. And then how funny would it be if they get up there and they do find somebody and Ellie shoots a guy. She's like, whoa. I didn't pick that up from that look at all.
Oh my God.
But they sneak into the building and first they find a WLF guy who's got like 5 arrows stuck into him. Like, fuck that guy in particular.
Right.
And they open up into the main station part of the building and there's a bunch of other WLF members who are not only hanged, but they're disemboweled as well. So very gnarly. Dina's at some points like, what the fuck is wrong with Seattle?
Oh my God. Like just that scene, like what a visual.
And there's also like somebody took someone's blood and wrote "Feel Her Love" on the wall with the Seraphite logo on there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever painted a wall.
With paint.
With paint?
Not with fluids. Not with like human fluid.
I would assume you wouldn't paint it with blood.
No.
But how hard is it to paint a wall with paint and then you have to like write a message and now it's blood? Like someone spent some time making that.
They've got like a roller. Like, it's actually a lot easier this way. It's just all straight lines.
You guys are making fun of me for stopping at the hardware store and getting a roller. No way is this going to come in handy. Joke's on you.
Everybody was laughing when we were looting Weston's pharmacy and I found the paint roller.
But there's one WLF person on the ground whose radio starts going off. Oh, if that person has a radio, they probably called for backup. They're probably going to arrive any second. And they do.
Like clockwork, they Beetlejuiced them. Woof, woof, woof. Oh, shit.
Damn it. But yeah, the backup arrives. And they're understandably, aghast at what they see.
Naturally, as one should be.
The one guy's like, if you see anybody, fucking kill him. And they're like, but Isaac wants them to interrogate him. No, if it's a baby, you kill that thing.
Isaac's not here.
So they're taking justice into their own hands. And Dina and Ellie are hiding. Ellie goes upstairs to try to find an escape. There's a giant window, but it's locked. And she ends up catching one of the WLF guys by surprise. A second WLF guy shows up and it looks like Ellie's gonna got, but Dina just blasts that guy at point blank range.
Right.
And the two of them... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I going back to the gameness of it. In my notes, I had written like, Ellie clicks L3 for melee and presses square and presses square again to initiate the check to start the choke procedure. I'm like, I'm so glad I'm not doing this. Like, just like, can you imagine Dina's like, Ellie, press square? She's like, what the fuck does that mean?
Like, part of me wants a version of the show where the video game character, like, they all talk like NPCs. They show up to Jackson and Maria's like, what are you buying? Would you like to see my wares?
I've got a lot of good things on sale today, stranger.
But they jump out the window. They start running through the streets away from everybody, and they find like a collapsed doorway, but they can sneak
that crawl hole
under it. So they crawl into the tunnel, and the WLF guy's like, they're in the tunnels. Go to the other entrance because they know the city better. Down there, Ellie and Dina, they come out of the rubble. They're in the subway now, but the WLF like kind of already beats them in there. They're throwing flares out so they have better lighting. And one of the flares lands on a cordyceps tendril.
And the roots are on fire.
Yeah, yes. We don't need no water. So the infected know they're there. You start hearing some infected screaming out, and they do a nice little callback because was it the first episode when Dina and Ellie were on patrol and Dina was doing like, I hear one. Ooh, there's a second one. So Dina's counting, and I really love that moment because it builds the suspense when Dina gets to like 5, and then you see in her face where she's like, there's a lot more than that, but I don't have any more fingies. And the WLF guy's like, I thought this was clear. It was clear. No, it's not. And then all hell breaks loose. The infected are in there.
So good.
Tell me about your thoughts throughout this whole scene. What were you feeling? What were you thinking?
I feel like every sort of like zombie show has to have like the slamming on the windows and the tight corridor mode of transportation kind of like moment, right? You've got to be in the trap space. Everyone's trying to slam. I thought this was one of the best. I thought they nailed the claustrophobic, moments. They nailed that feeling. They were able to capture what it felt like to play that without making it look like you kind of were, without making it look like too gamey. I thought they absolutely nailed that. I thought the aesthetic of it was gorgeous. I thought everything bathed in that sort of like really tense red light of the flares, which just was almost triggering to someone who had forgotten a ton of the game. Just like so many aspects of that, just the art direction, the scene design, the cinematography, all of that, they fucking nailed that. And I think it goes to the strength of this being one of the stronger, like, again, one of the strongest episodes of the season/series at this juncture. The best thing that a scene like that can do is make me go like, how are they going to get out of this? Like, I know they're going to, but I am starting to doubt their ability to. Like, that is great writing. That is great direction. That is great technical work right there to make me doubt a known entity. Like, they're going to, like, what the fuck? Like, nailed it.
No, you're 100% right. Everything about it is so amazing. I really appreciated how they're going up on top of the car, down into the car. I don't know what you call, what's the part of a subway train or a train in general, the in-between part of the cars that have like that rubber spongy membrane around it. That part's something about that specifically when they were climbing through that, and you can hear all the hands like beating that rubbery texture.
Yeah, like it was all like batting of like,
something about that specifically really got me anxious, and my anxiety was through the roof. And then they're breaking through the windows, and Dina does this dope thing where she sees the emergency hatch above her, and she does this dope like jump kick off the side, grabs the lever and opens it.
Oh, hell yeah.
And Ellie's like point blank shooting guys, and they get off the train. They run through. They go over like a fencing area. They go up the stairs, and then there's that turnstile area. Which those type of turnstiles give me dread on a normal day. But like I don't want to get stuck in that shit.
Can we talk about that? Maybe modern public transportation security peaked at a rusty iron turnstile.
I think I agree.
I mean, line jumping was not a sport at that fucking transit tunnel, and I think that they were able. I mean, that is some ironclad security right there. I think they peaked right there. Untouchable defense.
But they get in there and it's so good because they're trying to push through. They can't quite get it. Dina's last, and one infected actually breaks through the fence, and it looks like it's about to bite Dina. And at the last second, Ellie reaches her hand through the bars of the rusty turnstile and uses her arm to save Dina from getting bit. And it's this really harrowing moment because for Dina, she's like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die! Oh my God, I bit Ellie!" And for Ellie, it's like, I don't care. Like, I love how
taking one for the team. It's fine.
Ellie doesn't even think about it. Belly Ramsey plays this next few minutes so wonderfully because for everyone else, it would be such a moment, but she's like, just another day. Hey, I got a scratch. Let's go, girl. Let's go.
Right.
It's wonderful. And so they make it out. You see the other infected slam against the turnstile, and the one guy specifically is just getting squished. It looks awful. That's my fear. I feel like that's going to be me whenever I use one of those. But they make it out of the subway. They see the Pinnacle Theater where they're going to take refuge for the night, and they walk inside. The whole time, Dina's got her gun. She's shaking because she thinks that Ellie's infected now, and she's going to have to put her friend down. And again, like I said, Bella Ramsey plays it so well. She's like, okay. They're like, okay, go get the chair. Let's go barricade this. Let's do this. And finally, Dina pulls a gun on her. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's a shocking visual in and of itself. Just Dina pulling a gun on Ellie, especially at this point. It's a big jaw dropper. Like, what are you going to do? Don't kill her. And this is what Joel had been telling Ellie all throughout season 1. Don't tell people you're immune because they will have this exact reaction.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's Dina,
it's that first real time, right? Where like, besides like when she's showing it at the first season with the like, oh, now you're infected. But like with this one, I mean, like this is the first person that's like truly cares for her, loves her, has those, really, really like main character feelings for Ellie, and to like learn and get that big reveal. And I love that it took this long, like, a game and a quarter, or like a season and change, a season and a half, to get to the point where like, yes, now this is officially public knowledge in some way, like someone else knows. Yeah. And the way they did that was so good because like it's been 5 years, that they knew Dina or whatever. So like that relationship's still kind of like new-ish, but she doesn't know. And I think that's the big thing. It's like a good, you don't know what you don't know. And so much of that, I think, plays into how this goes beyond. Just a great moment.
Totally agree. Ellie tells her, don't fucking shoot me, Dina. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go on that nasty ass chair, bandage myself and take a nap. You stay over there, keep that gun on me, and I'm not going to turn. And
I love the way she phrased it though, where like it was, I'm going to sit at the chair and like, I'm going to go to sleep, and I'm going to wake up. And a lot of the times I wish this wasn't true, but I'm still going to wake up me.
Yeah, that was,
and I'm just like, it
was sad.
Yeah. It's just, it goes back just like, like what a life lived, but life robbed,
Right. That one line really hit me as well.
Yeah.
The transition is really funny because I thought the scene would play out with Dina still having the gun trained on Ellie. But no, Ellie really did go over and fall asleep on the chair.
Yeah. So she said she was going to do.
She called her shot. She took it. She did it.
Yep.
Respect.
Right.
But like a water droplet falls on her from the ceiling, and she kind of freaks out, and Dina immediately pulls the gun on her again. Like, no, it's just weird. I'm doing a weird water dance.
What I loved about this and like the ensuing like 90 seconds, right, of like the build up to finally that tension release was the fact you could not see Dina's face.
Yes.
Like it was just blinded by that flashlight. Like all of the light, the spotlight, all of the focus was just on Ellie. Like Dina in that moment did not exist. Like that was just, it was a person in the puffy vest with a gun and a flashlight, and it wasn't, that relationship felt stripped. Yeah. Until like Dina was finally convinced. I loved that. Like the fact that it's just like, no, like you're not going to see me. You're not going to see me in this moment. Like I'm going to either be fine or like you're not going to see what I'm going to have to do, kind of thing. I thought that was great.
Alternatively, when she does turn the light off, Dina looks wrecked.
Yes.
Like they did not have a good I don't know how long this was, how long a time has passed, but Dina looks visibly worse than the previous scene.
Yes.
Like this has been one of the worst nights of her life.
100% so far.
There was one funny thing. I don't know if anyone else noticed this. Listener, if you noticed this, please write in. I want to know your thoughts. The shot, so Dina still has the flashlight on Ellie. I think it's when Ellie's like, no, let me show you, because it's a shot of her. In the background, there's something moving behind her. I paused it and rewatched it like 3 or 4 times because I couldn't tell if it was just Dina's flashlight casting a reflection on something shiny behind her.
Yeah.
But the more I looked at it, the more like it looked like there was some digital masking over it, as if maybe like there was maybe a crew member that just stuck their head in and then went back. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying it was a crew member, but there's something weird about it, and I can't quite put my finger on what it was. So if anybody saw it and has any sort of take that they would like to throw out, I'm fascinated by what this was. I seriously spent 10 minutes like rewinding it and replaying it. Like, what the fuck is that?
It's just like digital artifacting from HBO's dog shit compression.
It could be, honestly. I mean, that could be like my mind thinking, oh, there's masking happening. It's probably the artifacting.
Everything that's in dark rooms is so chunky and square, and I don't know why.
Right. Well, this whole thing is building up. Ellie has finally told her secret to Dina. So Dina comes back with her own secret. She's pregnant.
Right. Which... did that recontextualize the whole night before for you? Like Dina feeling like she's got, when she first has the gun on Ellie, cause like she knows at that moment, like that she's pregnant. So I'm just like, for when she like does that reveal, cause like I got to thinking and I'm like, oh shit. Like if she knew, like, was she sitting there like, oh fuck, I'm so far away from Jackson now, like pregnant and I've got to kill this person. Like, oh, I am like, what did I get myself into? You know, like, did she see this without knowing, you know, Ellie's immunity? Did she see this like alternative path that she was going to be like forced to go down, you know, where she's pregnant? Does she have to? Well,
I think she definitely did wolves, based off what she says.
Back to Jackson. Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. I love the games or the just Naughty Dog and the writers, Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann's ability to take these moments and like, again, go back to like, you don't know what you don't know. And then kind of like, here's like some crumbs for now, here's some crumbs for later. But like when these meet up, it's going to kind of take these two things, like this part that you already knew, where like Dina's like, oh my God, is Ellie bit? And it's like, oh my God, is Ellie bit? Do I have to kill her? I'm pregnant. I'm so far away from home. Like, and all like, and for me, it was in that moment where like, she's not at Jackson, she's in Washington. And like, where's she going to go if like the reason she's out there, she has to kill? Like, and how quick all of this can turn meaningless, you know, like how like cruel and unintentional and unintending life can be. It's just unforgiving. Like this is just, I think it really, I don't know. I look at this as like a big Western, and I think it really nails those kind of like motifs and elements of it. I really, when she's like, Ellie, I'm pregnant, I'm like, that recontextualizes the whole entire last like stressful scene and everything.
Well, with both of their secrets out and revealed, there's no more secrets between them, so time to be together. They start
kissing time.
They start making out, and they do a lot more than that. And we cut to the next morning. The two of them are spooning in the lobby of the theater. Ellie, of course, is the big spoon. Alex, I gotta know, just in case it ever happens, if you and I are in the apocalypse and we end up in a theater and we have to spoon, do you prefer big or little spoon?
I am a very, very, very capable and competent big spoon, but I do prefer the little spoon because I am, one of my love languages is touch, and I do like the security and safety of being held.
That's good to know. So in case we ever end up in this situation, I know I will big spoon you, my friend.
Perfect.
I will keep you safe.
I appreciate that so much.
Papa Bear's got you.
I love that. And then our beards can touch and be married.
Ooh, and married?
Yeah, we can just,
I love that.
Scrape them up against each other.
I love that for our beards.
Right.
We won't be married, but our beards will be.
We will be together.
Yeah.
In support of the beards.
Yes.
Solidarity.
This little moment made me chuckle because they wake up, they're about to kiss, and he's like, no, morning breath. Let me get some beef jerky to make that morning.
Which, holy shit, fucking woman after my own heart. I'm like straight up. Like, what? That you couldn't wake me up with a better sentence than just like, oh, morning breath. Hold on, let me do some beef jerky about it. Like, yeah, bring some over here, please. Like, beautiful.
Did you ever see like the beer commercials that I forget what TV channel they would insert beer commercials into Star Wars to make it seem like it was part of the movie? Like, your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough, and then it was Obi-Wan would open like a Modelo. He would open up a cooler of beer. Yeah, it's the most refreshing thing ever. If they ever wanted to do that for The Last of Us, this is the perfect opportunity for like beef ravioli to show up.
Oh yeah,
because the Ellie literally goes, beefy at one point.
Yeah, like, they don't tell you that along with Twinkies, Chef Boyardee's beef ravioli is apocalypse proof. Like, oh, hey, cool. Like, we did it. Snuck that one in there, I guess.
Got morning breath. Get some beef.
Beef jerky.
Then they move on to talking about like how her bite still looks good. And then Ellie's chemical burn scar is recontextualized for Dina. Like, oh, you did this to yourself to hide a bite you already had. And Ellie's like, well, I wanted to wear short sleeves again.
Right.
Very relatable.
I love that.
And Ellie asks Dina, why now? We've been friends for a while. There's obviously been something there between us. Why now? And Dina says, I thought you were gone. And then all of a sudden, the future I was imagining that we were going to have, we'd be together, we'd have a kid.
Right.
That was taken away. I don't even know if you want to have kids.
Right. This future you haven't consented to yet, but I'm kind of assuming like, seems likely, like you won't be opposed to it. It was going to be taken away from me. Mm-hmm.
I'm me, and so us. I know you'll follow.
Right. Yeah, it's natural for the little spoon to kind of have the more take charge of this is true. Everything. Yeah.
That is true. It is amazing how the little spoon is the one that's always in charge.
Big spoon in the streets, little spoon in the sheets.
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
No further questions, yeah.
This has been Streaming Things.
Dina continues to talk about how we get her origin story about how she told her mom when she was younger that she liked boys and girls. Mm-hmm. But her mom said, no, you like boys. And she got stuck. And this is another moment that kind of choked me up a little bit, specifically when Dina said, she tried to make it work with Jesse because he is a great dude. But he wasn't the one, but I still kept trying anyway. I couldn't let myself be me, or I couldn't let myself be. And that got me like, oh, yeah, Dina, just be you.
Right. Take off the mask, Dina.
We love who you love.
Companionship is companionship.
Ellie tries to say you were scared. Well, not everyone's as brave as you. I'm not brave. I'm just obvious. Because there's that really funny bit where it's like, I thought I was hiding my feelings for you so well.
Right.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, honey, no.
Yeah. No. Not even.
We've all been there, too, where like you have a crush on someone and you're just like, they don't know that I'm like so in love with them, but they know.
I've been playing it so cool. It's like, now the flop sweat says otherwise.
Right. Why are you so sweaty? I don't know.
It's sweaty out. Shut up.
Dina says she knows she's pregnant because that item we saw her looking at earlier was a bunch of pregnancy tests.
Eugene.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Look what I found.
I've been here the whole time.
Backpack Eugene.
Get back in there. Yeah, she says she found a bunch of pregnancy tests and peed on it. I love, because again, they grew up in apocalypse.
Right.
Ellie's first thought was like, ew, you peed on it? You're supposed to, idiot. I don't just pee on things.
I don't just disseminate on these tests.
Piss boy.
It's actually what I would write if I worked at Starbucks. If I wanted to get fired real quick, that's just the name I would write on everybody's drink.
Piss boy.
Just piss boy. Piss boy. Got a large venti for piss boy. My name's Derek. Oh, well, welcome to the show.
But they're going to have a baby. I'm going to be a dad.
I love that.
It's really cute. All three of them, because they include Jesse in this as well.
Yeah. Was it in the game? I think when Dina does the reveal, she like jokingly like tells Ellie like, it's not yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved like, for as funny as that line was, Ellie rocking the I'm going to be a dad line was just, I was like, what a great like hot swap, like plug and play line that is. Just like, yes, the "it's not yours" would have been really funny, but like the delivery of that line from Bella Ramsey was just perfect.
Yeah. At that point, the radio that they took from the WLF person starts going crazy. They hear that there's some bombing going on. Bring the wounded to Lake Hill. Tell Nora to get ready. And Nora is one of the WLF people that was there when Joel was murdered. And she's going to know where Abby is. So they run up to the top of the roof to kind of get their bearings because they don't know where they are. So they can't orient themselves towards Lake Hill. So they go up there and they see like, oh, fucking war happening in Seattle. There's bombs, explosions. And of course, Lake Hill is the building directly on the other side of all that warfare.
Naturally.
Ellie says that Dina should stay behind because it's different now. It is. She's pregnant. But Dina takes her hand and says, no, together. They're in this together. They're in it to win it. And that's how the episode ends.
Yeah, I think that this was just perfect ending to set it up for, what is to come.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, let's move into our Firefly moments, our top 3 favorite moments. But before we do that, let's go to ads. Hello, stream fiends. As April showers bring those famous May flowers, we're reminded of the growth and renewal that spring offers. It's a time of refreshing rains and new beginnings and questioning whether or not the tomb is empty. But before any of that, we want to sprinkle some gratitude like a gentle April rain. So let's give a special April shout out to all of our supporters on Patreon, but a special shout out to our super patrons. These fantastic supporters contribute $25 or more each month, helping our podcast bloom and thrive like a well-tended garden. So thank you to Sander Barbarian, Daniel Pack, Nice Guy Eddie, Taloon, Jordan Garvin, Albus Stinkpot, Haley, Maddlestat, Susie Callahan, Anthony Corona, Jim E, Lady Trashley, Sean Myers, Just Liz Calabria, Mike from New Hampshire, Brett X, E Scramo, Lil Tickler, Svento 7, Jay Scramo, Bloffpum, AK Ashley Ray, Adam Busby, Upside Down Canuck, Big Butthorn, Jair Latanowicz, Kaylee Sampson, Rabbit Dog in a Barbie Car, Elpander, Alexis Adler, Peaches, Emmy, Haley B, Joe Velez, Trisha Bueller, Alex G, Sun-Loving Mortal, Suzanne Rode, Jadinklage Morgoon, Kalisha Reeves, Paula Garcia, That Brenda, Aaron Armstrong, Seriously Black 82, Ashley Powers, Casey McCain, and Enza. So thank you all so much for supporting Streaming Things. And with that, let's get back to Streaming Things. Okay? And we're back. We're about to talk about our top 3 favorite moments, our Firefly moments. Alex, what is your number 3 favorite moment of this episode?
I'm just going to give it to Jeffrey Wright as Isaac. Just
him in general. That's your number 3.
It's that tie between like how they introduced him and then just the kitchen monologue. I thought that was just such a great like way to introduce the character without making the episode about him. Because that was the thing too, is like if you watched like the episode 4 trailer, like preview at the end of episode 3, like you see like, oh, Isaac's coming, whatever, but like not in the sense of like, he's going to lay the work for the being like this preliminary, like, this like focus, right? Like we're going to give you a little taste of him. And I thought that was a perfect way to introduce him without making it about him and without making it like too much and like distracting from the show and like what's going on and where it's headed. Like I thought the way they wrote him, incorporated him, and slowly just kind of like dropped him in to start kind of like, you've dropped the rock in the pond, right? And you're watching the circle wave start to branch out. I thought that was I thought how they handled that with his character was great for an episode introducing someone that kind of plays a role, a non-insignificant role in the story. I thought that the introduction of him, how they handled it, was easily one of my favorite moments of the episode.
Yeah, I agree. My number 3 favorite moment is specifically Isaac in the kitchen.
Okay.
The torture scene, only because that scene literally has everything, I think, because it introduces the character of Isaac very, very well. It recontextualizes him because we saw him earlier in the episode casually blowing up his own men, but it humanizes him because he's got that I'm a good cook. This is how I communicate with people. And then it demonizes him because he's torturing someone. It does some great world building with this conflict, or explaining a little bit better what the conflict between the Seraphites and the WLF is. Yeah. It plays into the themes of cyclical revenge. And it shows how ruthlessly pragmatic he is as a character, just by like killing the guy who he realized like, it's a waste of time torturing this guy. He's not going to give me anything I want. He's such a fascinating character. And that scene literally had everything. The only thing it didn't have was a respect for health codes in the kitchen. That's the only thing it didn't have, but I'm okay with it. I let it slide because those were beautiful pots.
Employees must wash their hands before they torture the Seraphites.
Right. What is your number 2 favorite moment?
The tunnel. The old tension tunnel, right? Like I thought that was
next stop, tension tunnel.
Oh geez, hey, we're not responsible for any lost belongings in the tension tunnel, but yeah, I thought that was just beautifully crafted, beautifully directed. I hit on it like 8 minutes ago, but like just the colors, the acting, the performances, just the quantity of infected that they were throwing at there, the sound design, just everything about that. I think like if HBO is going to throw together highlights, like a sizzle reel of sorts, to be like, you want Max, and that is the scene you fucking put in there, right? That is everything that you would use to market and sell Last of Us season 2. It's the tension, it's the terror, it's the horror, it's the infected, it's the apocalypse, it's the colors. It just ticks all those beats. I mean, that thing, like
literally the throwing of the red flares is what they use to begin the making of little vignettes at the end of the episode. Okay, it's just the flare and then the making of The Last of Us. Like they literally use that iconography to set up their behind the scenes stuff.
Got it. I don't watch this, but that's fair. Yeah. So I mean, I thought that is, if you want, I don't know, 2.5 minutes of like, if someone's like, what is The Last of Us? Like you could slap that fucking scene up there, right? And someone's going to know like whether or not like I should watch that or I shouldn't watch that. That's, you could sell someone one way or the other. Like, hey, is this show for you? Here's 2 minutes for you to decide. And like, I think someone could make that decision pretty quickly.
Great number 2. My number 2 is the Take On Me scene with Ellie singing the song. I mean, we talked about it a bunch up at the top, but it really is just a well done, expertly crafted scene, directly lifted from the game, and it hits just as hard. And I think both actresses nail it out of the park with their reactions and delivery. And Bella Ramsey, just what a great singer.
Yeah.
Just soft and delicate delivery, which is at odds with what we know about Ellie, in the long run. Like this is a sassy, combative, scrappy person. And we get to see this other side of them. Yeah. That is beautiful to see. And also love that song. Love hearing it.
Oh yeah.
But what is your favorite moment of day one?
It was the Take On Me scene. Yeah. I just solely because, like you say, it's the tenderness, it's the fragility, it's the sort of like putting a Fabergé egg in a hornet's nest kind of thing. It's just you see that different side. You see she's this hardened, like take no shit person, but like there is a softness, there's a tender, there's a life robbed, within Bella Ramsey's Ellie. Ella Ramsey's belly, Bella Ramsey's Ellie. And so I was just like, I'm gonna, but I think it was beautiful. I thought it was so perfectly acted for something that, like I said, wasn't, like Ellie plays for, if you're distilling and you're reducing it down to its core, it's like Ellie plays a song, Dina listens. And like, but when you look at it and you see how they perform it, for both actresses ends of it, like they do such a great job. And like I said, like any fear or any worry or concern someone should have about like, what's the Pedro Pascal-ness of this season? Like you don't have to worry about it. It doesn't fucking matter. Like this is great. And you're seeing it. You're seeing the kind of like apocalypse spectrum. You're seeing the tender fragility. You're seeing the take no shitness, the fuck you-iveness kind of it. And the juxtaposition of those two, I think, is just so beautiful. I think that is such a seminal moment of the game that they translated it so beat for beat and perfectly that like you couldn't have done that any better.
Great, excellent choice. We actually had our 1s and 2s swapped because my number 1 is the subway scene in Tension Tunnel.
Okay. I assume I did one. I figured.
At the top of the episode, I had mentioned how my game show comparative brain was saying like, oh, this is way better in the show than in the game. That's the subway scene, as well as the Hang WLF members. That scene, I think, is also is better done in the show. We talked about it a lot, but there's like great tension building, cinematography, great blocking with their set pieces and the actors and everything. And it just the way it ends, it crescendos with Ellie seemingly to sacrifice herself, but really it's just another day for her.
Right.
But it's such a big moment for the other character.
Yeah.
It's such a great spin on what actually happens in that scene compared to what happens in the game. I just really love it. I think this was a knockout sequence, and as of right now, I think it's one of the best executed scenes in the series, or at least in the season.
Yes.
But that's my number 1. So with that, let's head into Bullets and Pills, baby! The section where we bring up any Easter eggs, anything we really want to talk about that we think is just fun to talk about that happened in this episode. Alex, what do you have for me?
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they kept the pharmacies the same name.
They are. Weston's Pharmacy.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like that isn't, like, that's not wrong. Like, that's not a change.
Weston's Pharmacy is in Last of Us Part 2, and it's in The Last of Us Left Behind, the DLC from the first game.
Dang, so Weston's a chain.
It's like the Walgreens.
I'm like, they're not a family pharmacy? Get fucked.
Get fucked.
I mean, like the red flares, I think, at the end of it, it's just like that they nailed the whole like visual. I think this was one of the most direct, I feel like, translations, like with the adjustments they've made here and there. You change a nut for a bolt or whatever. But like to me, in terms of like, we're going to pick up the game and we're going to go right over here. I think this was, I don't know. I don't know why or how someone would be pissed about this one, I guess. If they're like looking for direct like juxtapositions or direct comparisons or whatever, I don't know how you could watch this one and be like, they're messing it up. Like, I thought
they're ruining the sacred texts.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to go back, I know I highlighted before the It's Not Yours versus Gonna Be a Dad. But there wasn't a whole lot of like I said, it's also been so long since I played the game too. But yeah, those were mine. The lift to take on me, the actual tunnel scene, the flares, and like that coloring, and just being like, I know what this looks like, I know what this means, and then that line change at the end were the ones that I was able to like, kind of like point out. I feel like,
well, I've got a couple of Easter eggs to point out, couple of real life Easter eggs to point out, but also there are a couple of scenes I want to recontextualize for people who haven't played the game, just to kind of know like how did these scenes play out in the game.
All right.
First off, I'll talk about some fun little things that I picked up. When Dina is in Weston's, she picks up a huge pill bottle, like a giant one. Those are the pill bottles you collect in the games. You don't find little ones. They're always those big, giant ones.
Okay.
So that was a fun little, the way she held it up to camera, like, see? Nerds, look at this.
We're doing a good job.
The entire episode title is Day One. And if you play the game, Last of Us Part 2 is actually split up into these sequences, and they're split up by Seattle, Day 1, Seattle, Day 2, location, Day whatever.
Part 2.
Yeah, actually.
I've always described, like, to me, that Last of Us Part 2 is the video game equivalent of a double album. And to me, like, it's a double album. It's Godfather Part 2, the game, more or less. And I mean, I don't mean that as like a pejorative. Like, I mean that is the most sincere form of compliment, both in quality and storytelling. Yeah, I think like, yeah, but the Day One thing, I'm just like, when that popped up, I'm like, yes, like we are here. And I think I know how this is going to go.
The music shop is the Valiant Music Shop. That is the title of the music shop in the game that they visit. Ellie singing the Take On Me. So not only is that we talked about before, not only is that a direct lift from the game, but Aha's Take on Me actually plays in the first season of The Last of Us when Ellie and Riley are breaking into the mall and having fun in the beginning. That song plays in the background. So it's also a callback to last season, which is fun. The Seraphite being tortured by Isaac. If you have the captions on, the captions name that character Malcolm. I don't think his name is never said, but the captions refer to him as Malcolm. Malcolm is one of 32 Seraphite names randomly generated from a pool of names, 16 masculine, 16 female, that can appear during gameplay that have no canonical impact on the game story. So as you're playing the game, Naughty Dog does this really dastardly thing where you're in an area, there's like 6 or 7 Seraphites, and you kill one of them and you hide. The other NPCs will walk up like, oh no, they shot Malcolm. Yeah. So they're letting you know that person has a name. You just ended a real person's life. It's like a really devious way to make the weight of these video game characters actually be felt when you kill somebody.
Such a good highlight of that game.
It's one of my favorite things the game does. Yeah. The game really, because video games, there's a ton of games where you kill people right and left and you feel nothing. Well, and Last of Us tries to make you feel something for the people that you're killing.
Naughty Dog is notorious for the term is called ludonarrative dissonance, and it's really it's a highlight specifically in video games, and Naughty Dog is really guilty of it, specifically with Uncharted, where it's like I'm playing this fun action thrilling adventurer serial murderer.
Yeah, like I've committed a small genocide.
Yeah, you're like, I've played the 4 Uncharted games and committed 16,000 murders by gunshot. Yeah. And like I think doing that little adjustment in Last of Us Part 2 was so fun. And it wasn't, and to do it in not a sort of like, and he was 15 days away from retirement, kind of like, without doing like the retirement of it, where it's like, like just to be able to like, they shot Malcolm, those bastards. You're like, yes, like make me feel terrible for my decisions.
Some of the worst ones are when you like when they see you and they're shooting at you, you're in a gunfight and you hit one of them and you'll hear the other NPC go like, Jessica! Yeah.
Yes.
They're so distraught that you've killed somebody. It really is effective. But the news station is a little bit different in the game. So Ellie and Dina in the game purposefully go to the news station because they know that one of the people that killed Joel is there. In the TV show, we have Manny, Owen, Abby, Mel, and Nora. So there's 5. In the TV show, there's 8 people.
Right.
And one of the earlier folks is named Leah. She's in the news station. And when they arrive, they find Leah dead. She's the one that has like the 6 arrows shoved into her.
Okay.
So they have a nice little callback to that moment without having Leah actually in the game. The subway scene that we love so much, there's a moment in the subway scene when they first get into the first car, they get to the next car and they shut the door behind them and there's a clicker that just almost gets them. That is 100% happens in the game as well. There's a clicker chasing you and you've got to hurry to shut the door before it slams up against the windows like trying to get you. When they get to the theater, this is a fun one. So when they get to the theater, you can see the marquee. It says Sick Ha. But if you pause it and look closely, you can see the outlines of the letters that are missing.
Okay.
And so the marquee says Sick Habit. Now, in the game, the theater that they go to, the marquee is advertising an actual play. I can't remember the name of the play off the top of my head. But as you're walking through the game, you can always pick up these like letters or flyers or whatever and to add more world building to the game. One of the flyers you pick up is for a band called Sick Habit that's going to play at the Pinnacle Theater. So it's Sick Habit.
Oh, that's cool.
With the brick shit houses. They're going to be playing at the Pinnacle Theater, $25 at the door. All proceeds benefit the Seattle Children's Center. Okay. And I got the Sick Habit set list, Alex, if you want to hear.
Yeah, did you get from Last FM?
No, I didn't get it from Last FM. But they're going to be playing Settle for Less. Okay. Who can say once more into Unto the Breach.
I love that one.
Love that one. Hideout, Running Towards My Problems. Possession, Deep. The Light. I wonder if there are fireflies. Of Two Minds, and their encore song, Armstrong and Holly and QED.
Dang.
So that's just one of the things you can pick up. So it's a nice little tie into the game, because I'm sure they didn't have the rights to display that actual play. So like, let's just do a band that was going to play in that theater that didn't get the chance to.
That's clever.
I like to think that Sick Habit got to play at the pinnacle before the end of the world.
I hope the children's fund got the money.
Yeah, I'm sure they needed it very soon.
$25 is going to go a long way.
And then lastly, I'm just going to point out some of the music albums that were seen in the shop. This has nothing to do with the game. It's just fun to be like, oh, yeah, there's Bob Marley's Legend. There's Andre Previn's Love Like. There's Tear for Fears Like the Hurting. New Order, Power of Corruption and Lies. Sublime, 40 Ounces to Freedom. There's a Burning Man 2003 poster I saw. And
oh boy.
Pearl Jam poster, which may be
fitting.
Very fitting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all I have for pills, baby. But with that, let's move on to our last section of this episode, our Outbreak performance, our favorite performance of the episode. Alex, who you got?
Isabella motherfucking Merced as Dina.
Nice.
MVP.
Okay.
MVP of the episode. Every single episode, I think Dina's character gets better. I think she gets like a stronger like backstory, stronger like strength in her character building. And I think Isabella Merced just keeps excelling as in this role. I think she is low key the best performer in the series right now. I am a big like how do they act with their face person, and it's important. It's not just line delivery, and like she is so believable. And I think she had to show a pretty healthy range of emotions this time around. And I think she nailed every single one of them. I think she nailed her comedic bits. She nailed the dramatic bits. She nailed the super hyper emotional bits. She was great in terms of like stress relief delivery. Her ability, like we talked about when she kills the flashlight, you just see she is just destroyed. I think she just conveys everything so clearly and believably that she makes watching this show so easy to buy into. And I think that came through every single second, every single frame that she is in this episode. And she's a standout performance for this episode for sure. But right now she's my lead runner for the whole season. Absolutely extraordinary performance. I thought she was great.
I'm reminded of one of our professors, because we both went to the same college at separate times. But one of our professors, I remember, would always tell me emotion is punctuated in cutaways.
Okay.
Meaning like, because a lot of students, he's saying this to someone who's making student films. A lot of students will not have coverage of someone reacting to a dialogue scene. It's just the camera's on me while I talk. Right. Now I'm talking, the camera's on me.
Shot, reverse, shot. Yeah.
And you don't go back to people reacting to what they're saying. So that was the point he was trying to make. But I often think about him when I see a lot of person-to-person dialogue heavy scenes, and you can always count on her to give a great reaction shot that really punctuates the emotion of what they're trying to convey in a scene. Like if you're ever unsure, like what are they? I can't quite tell what they're trying to say with the scene. If they cut away the Dina, you're like, got it now. Locked in.
Yeah, because
always count on her.
In some way, she is like you highlight that she is kind of like the emotional like everyman, the sort of like regulator for. She's not quite like the self-insert for the viewer, but she's definitely like kind of that person that you're just like, I don't know if this is a great idea. And Dina's usually the one that's like, have you thought about doing it differently? You know? And I just think like this episode was excellent for her. I think she absolutely just knocked it out of the park this time around. That's
an excellent choice. I'm going to give mine to Jeffrey Wright.
All right.
What an explosive debut for the character. Yes. I think Jeffrey Wright, who is such a lovely human being, like every time I see that guy on the red carpet or giving interviews, he's such a incredibly intelligent, well thought out, sweet person. And to see him play this gruff, no nonsense character that also has a lot of depth to him.
Yeah.
Like here's a guy who's like, you're making fun of them because they don't have the right to vote. I hate this. I'm just going to kill you. I'll look at my pots up. One day I'll get one of those pots. The weird benefits of being in the apocalypse. Like his line delivery, even though some people can read it as like a deadpan or a stoicism, he injects just enough personability to it to where you're like, this is a fully realized person. This isn't just a villain that showed up like, I'm going to take over Seattle and destroy everyone I can. I'm Castle Grayskull.
It's a whole like what the villain, the best villains think they're the hero in their story, and you get that like right from there. He is he is saving these people. You know, he is left the bad guys, and you know, like, did he leave bad guys for more bad guys? That's who's to say. It's all, you know, but like, yeah, I 100% agree with you on that.
And when I think about this episode, the things I'm going to think about a lot, again, there's some incredible moments of this episode. The subway scene, we already talked about all of them, but he's in 2 scenes and both of his scenes are just phenomenal. And it's all because of him, because he's so magnetic and he steals them. So I'm giving it to Jeffrey Wright. That brings us to the end of the episode. Before I close, I just want to remind you, Last of Us merch, check it out. Here it is if you didn't see it before. It's show notes if you want to see it if you're listening. We have a date for our live show. It's November 7th in Cincinnati, Ohio at the Woodward Theater. Not the Pinnacle Theater, but the Woodward Theater. Check out our Andor coverage.
Is opening.
Yes, Sick Habit. The brick shit houses will be closing. You can support the show at patreon.com/streamingthings, where you get a variety of benefits, including our deep dive coverage of Game of Thrones. And starting May 15th on the channel, we're going to have a whole month of chosen films where our patrons have suggested specific movies that we review. And we're starting off with a huge one, Alex. We're starting off with Hook.
Ooh, so show us the hook. Give us the hook.
But if you can't support us on Streaming Things, we get it. Times are tough. Leave us a nice review, 5-star review here, wherever you get your podcast. Alex, thank you so much for joining me today, buddy.
Dude, thank you for having me, man.
It is always a pleasure having you on. You're one of the most articulate, well-thought, funny brains I've ever had the privilege of talking to. And I always look forward to talking to you about nerdy shit.
Thank you so much,
It
man.
makes me so happy.
I love talking to you guys too, specifically you. Not to like ostracize Andy and Kit from the whole thing, but like, nah,
fuck them. They're not here.
Nah, they can't hear it. They don't have podcasts where they're at in Carcassonne, wherever they are. That's a board game.
I've always wanted to play Carcassonne.
But no, thank you for having me. Happy to be back. Yeah, I love talking to you. Happy to talk Last of Us anytime. Always available. Maybe not always around. What does I always say? I'm always around. I'm not always available. So thank you for reaching out and having me. And
I know that you had to take some PTO to join us to record this. So I really appreciate you taking that time to do that. That means a lot.
The good Lord job gives it to me. And so I'm going to take it.
That's what they say in the Bible, right? The good Lord job gives it to me.
The good Lord occupational benefits.
And it can take it away.
Yeah.
Well, with that, listener, thank you for listening to us and supporting the show. As always, we've got to return some videotapes. My name is Steve.
My name is Alex.
And I'm Steve. And this has been Streaming Things, streaming The Last of Us.
Happy streaming.